appreciate it. I'm so pleased to be here. I'm going to go through some initial thanks and acknowledgments. The Philosophy Club, the only club that matters, is responsible for all of this, and we're going to beat the History Honor Society at bowling fairly soon. The Student Government Association helped out by giving us money, which was fantastic. Marion Brown and her staff here at Palmer make this possible. My lovely wife puts up with me during the week of preparing for this, and that's very nice. I'd like especially to thank Steve Forrester and Steve Parker and the Philosophy Club for making this happen last year when I was recovering from surgery. I'd like to thank all the past and present participants and all audiences. What a great audience. Come on, that's the applause line. Yeah! So I'm going to introduce the participants, and then we'll talk a little bit about how the debate's going to go, and then we'll get down to business. First, we have last year's defending champion, Kevin Hope from physics.
Give me that. Not until my name is on.
I'll beat you with the cane. All right. Finally, the oar is back in my hands. Next, we have Andrew Batista, who is defending Alt-AC. I'll leave it to him to tell you what that means. Woo-hoo! Next up, Claire Edwards from Communication Science and Disorders. Well, looks like somebody gave extra credit. And Anthony Kelly from Philosophy, a subject near and dear to my heart. Yes! We have Brynn Chancellor from English Creative Writing. Okay, it looks like at least two people gave extra credit. And Brett Norhager from Biology. Hey, no flotation devices allowed. I'd like to start by pointing out that Dr. Norhager misspoke at Founders Day this morning when he was on the stage accepting his award. Due to a typo on his teleprompter, he said paddle instead of oar. And due to a second typo in the teleprompter, he said that Dr. Hope would win the paddle twice in a row, but what the teleprompter meant to say was, I will tear Kevin's heart out and eat it. It was thanks to Dr. Sterner that I noticed this error, so that's him. Oh, we have a special guest here. It seems to be President Obama. What's that? Oh, yes, these people are all better debaters than you were last week. Wait, what's that? You want the winner to coach you? Well, you've already got one of our distinguished alums on your administrative staff. Dr. Steve Condrey is the chairman of the Federal Salary Council. But I guess if you want to keep plucking the plums off the Montevallo tree, we can get the winner of tonight's debate to coach you for the debating next time. Oh, whoops. Hi, Clint. You want President Obama to do what? I'm not sure that's physically possible. Oh, I guess it is with a little help. Sorry, Mr. President. All right, Clint, have a seat. You can talk for a little while. Huh? You've been seeing invisible people and hearing voices? Man, it's horrible getting old, isn't it? Well, no. Huh? What? You think this comedy bit is going on too long? Well, I guess you're an expert of having comedy bits go on too long, so I'll get on to the show. Anyway, the Raft debate envisions that the world has undergone a zombie apocalypse or a nuclear war or some other devastating calamity that leaves only us in this room alive. These six people are debating and vying for the last seat on the raft. You have to decide, based on what they tell you, who would contribute most to making society flourish again in the new world, wherever that is. I think on Walking Dead it's going to be a prison. It seems kind of grim. They'll each get an initial 5-minute statement and then a 3-minute rebuttal. If you tweet some questions to at LIfecast. We will ask a few questions of them, and then the devil's advocate will come out and argue that they should all drown, and then we will vote, and we will see who carries home the coveted 15th anniversary Life Raft debate paddle, or, excuse me, another typo on the teleprompter. So the light box is there that will stay green until there are 30 seconds left in your speech or presentation. Then it will turn yellow, and then when it turns red, I will start hitting you with the oar or the cane, depending on how far away you are. So up first, we have Kevin Hope, the defending champion. And here's the...
Did Stephanie come turn this on? Let's see.
I think it's on.
Okay, is this working?
I'm not working.
Stephanie, where are you?
I think you better use the podium mics. We'll get the tech on that.
I told you you needed to have Stephanie up here. All right, so I'm back. Yes, I know. You thought you had gotten rid of me. Well, maybe not, but as you can see, they've once again decided to make me fight for a seat.
Take the blue pill.
I don't want to take the blue pill. So I'm supposed to start this all off tonight, and when the semester started, I had people come up to me and say, "So you're defending the oar soon. You know you're supposed to lose, right?" And so I had sort of this mixed feeling the past while, like 47% of you just don't care about me. Now, I'm hoping that's not the case, because I'm sure at least 47% of you still have to take physics. And I care about you there. Now, I would also like to talk a moment or two about this event that gets us into the Life Raft debate. Now, if it were something like a nuclear war, it would be a very quick and dirty thing, and we wouldn't have time for a life raft. So I'm pretty sure physics didn't do this. If we want to talk about slow ways to kill people, creative writing notwithstanding. We must talk to the biologist. You know, genetically modified foods, tinkering with diseases. Here is where your zombie apocalypse gets started, friends. Look at the face of evil. No, over here. Now, over at this side we have Alt-Act. We tried looking this up on the internet, and it seemed to be air conditioning repair. So, if the life raft needs an air conditioner, he's your man, right? And, well, I don't know what to really say about speech and pathology. What? You didn't say there'd be hecklers.
I have no control over who walks in here.
Yeah, obviously. So, what I'm here to tell you this evening is, you have yet, in the now 15 years, or 14 so far, to put somebody on the raft permanently. Wouldn't it be nice to do that this year? Can't we all just get along? Just a little? I even wore my Doctor Who shirt tonight, so yeah, I like that sound. That's better, yeah. Do you have a TARDIS? No, that's why I need the Life Raft. Do you have a TARDIS? Can I borrow it? Well, I never want to use the full 5 minutes here because I really like to listen to what my colleagues have to say here. So I'm really dying to hear about this air conditioning repair. So I think at this point I'm just going to let the timer run through. That's okay with you? And really get to this riveting discussion.
Okay. I didn't expect the nerd porn card to get played so early.
It's never too early for nerd porn.
This was on mute was the problem.
And now it's not.
There's a mute switch here if you want to use this. Okay, next up we do have Andrew Batista from Alt-AC, which I suspect isn't air conditioning repair at all. If you want it, just...
I'm going to avoid the wireless mic and all of its foibles. So, hello, my name is Andrew Batista, and in the minds of many people here tonight, I'm a failure. I spent 6 years in school getting a degree that doesn't really inform how I teach here at Montevallo. In fact, you could say that I spent a third of my life studying something that I won't ever think about again. I took some classes, read a lot of books, well, a few books, and wrote a 200-page paper about the ecological and epistemological crises represented in Renaissance English literature. Then I turned it in and forgot about it. Now I'm an information literacy librarian. However, my discipline and my vocation is something called Alt-AC. It's not air conditioning. If you take any stock in conventional wisdom about learning, you probably think I'm the least qualified person among us to stay on this raft tonight. But yesterday's conventional wisdom is today's pathology. And each of you already know that I'm the only person who should hoist the victory oar tonight. And I actually don't think I'm a failure. That's because in 2012, the way the people in my discipline, Alt-AC, think about learning and knowledge is the only way about thinking that matters. First, though, I need to answer the question that so many of you guys have asked me in the past couple days. What is Alt-AC? Alt-AC stands for Alternative Academic, or Alternative Academic Careers. It's a real thing. It's a group of people associated with the Scholarly Communication Institute at the University of Virginia, who teach in colleges and universities all across the world. We don't classify ourselves according to existing academic disciplines, rather according to what we actually do or how we actually think. We are librarians, archivists, digital humanists, computer programmers, curators, writers, editors, consultants, information scientists, grant developers, scholarship coordinators, and digital media specialists. We think that meaningful knowledge develops when people straddle boundaries and make connections between disparate things, regardless of disciplinary provenance. No, you can't come to the University of Montevallo and major in Alt-AC. And no, you can't apply for an assistant professor of Alt-AC studies in the Department of Alt-AC. There is no such discipline, and that's the whole point. Alt-AC is a synergistic approach to learning in college that encourages people to improvise, make connections, and be confident in a broad range of subjects. All of these are survival skills, by the way. Furthermore, Alt-AC thinking is a compelling alternative to a system that is broken. More on that in a second, though. But first, let me tell you a little more about why I decided to become an Alt-AC. When I was an English major, the only thing I could teach and the only thing I could write about were literary texts. And I had to do this. Now, on any given day at Montevallo, it is possible that I will help education students learn how to research, join future social workers as they gather data for public advocacy, lead discussions about cognitive neuroscience and social media, and finish with my art history students as we explore how 19th century landscape art became a mouthpiece for American imperialism. My students don't seem to care that I've never actually earned a college degree in any of these subjects. I tell them that pedagogical training is really a question of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Art history, education, social media, these are just some of the things I think about when I teach. I also order books, design web pages, answer questions, throw away books, cook wonderful turkey dinners for federal work-study students, and edit podcasts. I am large, and as an alt-act, I contain multitudes. Still, though, if we're going to stand up here and have a debate about which professor among us must be spared from this cataclysmic flood, we first need to have an honest conversation about the problems with college education today. Some estimate that at least 1/3 of students who go to college don't gain any analytical thinking skills at all. Further, to think of traditional academic disciplines like biology, physics, creative writing, speech pathology, especially creative writing, as independent from one another is an ontological mistake. Specialization is over. Deep knowledge is over. Epistemological superiority is over. If you want to survive in today's world, you need to broaden, not narrow your thinking. Unfortunately, though, as you know, when you get to college, you have to narrow your thinking and pick a single major because that's what they make you do. It's the only way that they recognize learning. So who in this brave world of digital connectivity, technogenesis, and radical interdisciplinarity will survive, and who will not? It's people who do different things. Noam Chomsky just tweeted the other day that if anyone at a university is teaching the same thing they were teaching 5 years ago, either the field is dead or they haven't been thinking at all. Those who survive are people like me, people who understand the entire disciplinary structure of higher education is broken and are willing to do something about it. You want me on that raft. You need me on that raft. Deep education requires a habitual vision of greatness, says Cornel West, and you know what that vision looks like.
I might have thought twice before the "I contain multitudes" line, because I think right before that he says, "Do I contradict myself?"
Very well.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, now we have Claire Edwards from Communication Science and Disorders.
Hello. I am short, yes, I am. I need the lift that Jon Stewart had the other night. Anybody see that debate? No? Okay, well, never mind. Okay, I know we've had a really rough day today. That explosion was crazy, and here we are, everybody on the raft, and everyone's a survivor. And I want to tell you a little bit about why I should survive with you. Speech, language, hearing, and communication. These are the foundation for the discipline of communication science and disorders, specifically speech-language pathology. Language is the essence of human. It separates us from being other animals. Communication is the essence of civilized society, and I am trained to aid in the building of strong language and communication skills in individuals birth to geriatric. Language drives cognition. Without language, there would be no meaningful thought. Think about that. There would be no conception of ideas. I am trained to work with language and cognition problems in individuals birth to geriatric. In this crisis that we are all experiencing, I am one of the first responders. I am there at every aspect of this crisis. I am trained in counseling with individuals in a crisis to remain calm, to assess the situation, to provide assistance as necessary, to build hope and confidence when everything else seems desperate. These skills will be crucial to reestablishing civilized society. I'm a licensed and nationally certified service provider. In a nuclear fallout such as this, I can deal with many issues that society will face during the crisis. I have prevention, I can assess problems, I can diagnose, I can intervene, I can follow up, and I can also counsel throughout. I serve individuals birthed to geriatric and their families. I have a developmental knowledge that spans the lifetime, and I'm trained to provide intervention for myriad disorders. For example, did you know that I can help individuals with feeding and swallowing disorders? Have you ever seen a throat that has had radiation problems? It's not pretty, I'll tell you that. So I can help you. Everyone needs to be able to swallow. For cognition, children here. There are children here. Yeah, there are children. All right.
Bring up creative writing.
Yes. I'm not bringing up creative writing, as Kevin is probably. I can help with language. Did you know Einstein was a late talker, and in fact, he didn't talk for a very long period of his life, and he was dismissed from school because he didn't go along with traditional methods, and I can help future Einsteins. I can help with speech, people with speech problems. I can work with alternative communication and give a voice to those who do not have their own voice. I can help with hearing, providing prevention and therapy to individuals that have hearing disabilities. I can help people who stutter. I can help people who have voice problems and treat a variety of voice disorders and help prevent them. I can help people who have pragmatic issues, from traumatic stress or just not being very socially appropriate. I can help rebuild the governance system through that. I can help with reading and writing. And I'm also certified to train others in the discipline to keep enough SLPs as the population grows. So I really can do most anything that you need for me to do. And I am the one that you need on this raft. I am the one that can help you rebuild and function in society. Thank you very much.
I'm speechless. Come on. I had to say it. It was too easy. You'd have thought less of me if I hadn't said it. Now we have Anthony Kelly representing the master discipline of philosophy.
Good evening, fellow survivors. Or maybe I shouldn't call myself a survivor just yet. But I would like to thank Drs. Michael Patton and Steve Forrester, along with the members of the Philosophy Club, for organizing this event and inviting me to participate. Now, I have to be honest, I'm a little underprepared for the debate. It turns out there aren't many Google search results for how to defend philosophy in a post-apocalyptic world. And I've also been on this really weird Netflix binge for the last 48 hours, so just bear with me. Let's try to get through this. So before I give you the reasons to grant me, a philosopher, a seat on the coveted Life Raft, let me tell you a little about what it is that philosophers do. So philosophers ask and attempt to answer very fundamental and general questions about the world, right? Questions like, does God exist? We all know the answer to that one. Can we have knowledge of the external world? And which actions are merely permissible and which are strictly obligatory? Now, what distinguishes philosophical inquiry from other academic disciplines is not just the kind of questions that philosophers ask, but also the way we try to answer them, right? So philosophers use precise and rigorous argumentation to distinguish true views from false ones. So how exactly is philosophy going to be useful in rebuilding civil society in the wake of this horrific event? Well, first, philosophy can be useful in helping us establish a new government. And anyone who's read Thomas Hobbes knows that we don't want to be without a government for very long. So which form of government is best, right? What role should government play in our society? To what extent should each man and woman surrender a portion of his or her liberty to the sovereign, right? These are all questions that political philosophy can help us answer. Also, if it's a nuclear war that ends up wiping out most of the world's population, then it's certainly, at least in part, a result of the folly of our political leaders, right? So what philosophy can do is give us the tools of critical analysis such that we are informed and enlightened citizens capable of seeing past the political tricks and selecting the best among us to lead us as we rebuild our world, okay? So, second, philosophy can help us grapple with the complex moral decisions that we will inevitably face in this new world. For instance, as we gather survivors, we will have to ask ourselves whether it is better to take survivors in as we find them, right? sort of on a first-come, first-served basis, or to cast away the old or infirm, as to make room for the young and healthy. Sorry, Michael. So are we to systematize procreation so as to rebuild the population more quickly? How are we to distribute goods like food and water equitably and fairly? Do claims to property rights even make sense, given the extreme scarcity of resources in our newfound circumstances? These are all complex moral questions that a philosopher can help us think through. Who's laughing at that point? That wasn't a punchline. But lastly, philosophy will help us nurture and revitalize what I like to call the intangibles, okay? So let's face it, in this post-apocalyptic world that we've been imagining, our physical world is utterly transformed. Most of your friends and family, unfortunately, are probably dead. There are no arts, no letters, no industry. There's not very much left. But what will be left are the intangibles. The intangibles are things like the virtues, the respect for persons, the exercise of reason, the ability to use our innate moral sense to distinguish right actions from wrong actions. None of these things are the sort of things you can see or touch out in the world, but as we rebuild our society, the intangibles will have a tremendous impact on the kind of world we will find ourselves in. So maybe the point is this: when fate has withdrawn its fortune from us, okay, when all we are left with are the intangible gifts from our Creator, we must nurture these gifts by finding the place deep within each of us, in a place that may be far too unfamiliar in a time of iPads and a 24-hour news cycle. But this is precisely the task that philosophy is well suited for, to help us discover the best within ourselves when the world around us is at its worst. So let me leave you with a quote from the Bible. This is sure to get me your vote. This is from 2 Corinthians 4th chapter, 18th verse. Listen to this. While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Okay? I'm also really fat, so you can probably carve me up and eat me if none of that is convincing. So.
Well, I think I've heard enough. I'm just going to declare philosophy the winner. Sorry. Come on, it's my prerogative as moderator. No, I'm just kidding. Bryn has been taking a beating for creative writing for some reason, so I now give you Brynn Chancellor.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, since I am defending creative writing this evening, I thought that I would tell you a story. Once upon a time, a woman found herself suddenly in the aftermath of an apocalypse. As apocalypses went, it was a bit strange. For one thing, her town had been nowhere near a body of water, yet she now stood knee-deep in a rising tide. The streets had morphed into a junked-out yard sale churning with detritus. Sippy cups, lawn chairs, a sad sequined flip-flop. Stunned townspeople clung to coolers and wood planks and paint buckets. Then, things got stranger. A colossal raft suddenly emerged out of the murk, stuffed to its ragged edges with survivors. This woman, a creative writing professor at the town's college, watched, befuddled, as this raft undulated on the water, sagging rather ominously on the left. What in the world was that thing made of? She could make out branches, PVC pipe, purple and gold ribbon, a chalkboard, cafeteria plates. And who were these MacGyvers who whipped it together as the world imploded? A rafter cried out, "We have one spot left." "So?" the woman said. "What do you mean, so? Don't you want us to save you?" The raft creaked as if rusted or haunted. A chunk dislodged with a splash, and the woman took a step backward.
I think you might have a structural problem. Hey, beggars can't be choosers, a rafter said. I wasn't begging. Do you want to ride or not? She peered down. The water hit her thighs. Where are you headed? To start a new civilization, a rafter said. Another called out, duh. Still, the woman hesitated. She couldn't find her husband, with whom she'd been sitting a half hour ago watching The Daily Show over takeout from El Agave. The shattered sky rattled and hissed above her, its clouds coiled as if to strike. She hadn't let go of this civilization. This was how her writer's mind worked, with a slow unfolding. In this world that she just lost, she spent a lot of time alone, staring out windows, not joining others. Truth was, if she did climb onto that so-called raft, she wouldn't want to talk to anyone. And if they did manage to reach habitable land without it cracking apart like dry toast, her first move would be to find the farthest stitch of land, dig a spider hole with her bare hands, and hide. I don't know, she said finally. A murmur rippled through the flotilla. Someone said, you know, a lot of people would kill to get on this raft. They've been trying to jump aboard, telling us why they deserve to be saved. They're pretty compelling. She frowned. So you're asking me to compete for a chance to live? A rafter said, well, yes, but when you put it that way. A voice piped up from the back. You sure do ask a lot of questions for someone who's about to drown. I'm a writer, she told them. Writers, herself included, tended to be questioners, outsiders, weirdos, deep contrarians who spent their lives observing and listening and composing, even in the face of failure, even when it was easier to be silent. A rafter cried, a writer, so you can entertain us. The others chimed in, yes, yes, entertain us. And then it shifted to a chant, entertain, entertain. She sighed. It didn't work like that for her. She couldn't just whip up a campfire story. Her form was written. Stories took her weeks, months, even years to write, and they tended to be somewhat dark, interested in flawed characters and in small moments of revelation. She shook her head. I can't, she said. The chanting fizzled. A rafter said, so you can't entertain us. You ask us a lot of annoying questions that make us doubt our premise and frankly our ethics, which doesn't feel great. You are clearly awkward speaking to a crowd, and if we're not mistaken, your hair is the color of beets. Hell's bells, lady, what can you do for us? The water hit the butterfly indent of her neck. The rattlesnake sky flashed and her mind flailed. Instead of an answer that would save her, she thought instead of that last lovely moment in her living room, the warmth of another body, the fragility of time. She thought, my husband's eyes are the blue of a winter sky at dusk. She thought of her old writing desk where she spent hours laboring in agony and joy in search of the story, the sentence, the next word. The place that taught her it was okay to be alone and look inward, to revel in the wonder of imagination. A place, too, that was about power. She was a magician, an alchemist, transforming words into worlds, lies into truth, make-believe into belief. Through storytelling, she discovered time and again what it meant to be alive. The water reached her chin. Finally, she took a deep breath and told them, write it down. Save yourselves.
Well, I guess Bryn can have my seat on the raft because I'm going to hang myself backstage. Yeah, I weigh a lot, so that probably gets two of y'all on the raft. So now we have, finally, but not lastly in any sense, Dr. Brett Norieger. Let's have it.
That was pretty cool.
I'll get that done. PowerPoint, people.
Yeah, so this is University Scholar. You would expect the scholar to overthink things and over-prepare. I have PowerPoint. Sorry.
So you didn't over-prepare?
One click. There we go. I think I saw Claire's nuclear explosion picture when I was going through my Google Images and saw that. As a scientist, I'm trained to think, like, make observations. Okay, we've got this boat. Ask a question. Why do we only have one boat? Maybe we should have made another boat. Thank you. So I think defending biology is kind of a no-brainer, really. We're going to have this icky water. We're going to, on this boat, there's probably, it's probably salt water. There's contaminants in the water. You're going to need a biologist to try and be able to purify the water so we can get something to drink. Because if we don't drink, we're going to die. Yeah. This is the nuclear wasteland that we are traveling to. We need to transform it into these verdant pastures. Where we can grow steaks and grill out and eat some fruits and veggies. That's what my wife said. The cockroaches are the only things that are going to survive this nuclear holocaust. That and microorganisms that are going to cause disease. So we're going to need medicine. Where are you going to get medicine if you don't have a biologist to work on treating these diseases? What do we have here? Oh. We don't know what kind of pressures we're going to be faced with when we get to this new land that we're traveling to. We're going to have to adapt to a new environment. We're going to have to make some changes. Biology is going to allow us to do that. Hopefully some of those crops that we're cultivating along with those fruits and veggies are going to be some hops and some barley, some grains, find some yeast somewhere, brew up some beer. Listen to some music. All right, you're thinking, how does music tie into biology? Well, I can explain the whole neural pathway if you want to, but it ties into biology, trust me. And if we choose the right music, a little Marvin Gaye, one thing leads to another, a little beer, a little music. Two people get together. That's biology. Of course, we're going to have to, I'm sorry, but we do have sort of a limited gene pool just in this audience, so we are going to have to work on some breeding program. We might need a geneticist for that. Basically, you may not know this, but a long time ago, biology was the only discipline on the planet. Chuck Norris was then born. He roundhouse kicked biology, and all the other disciplines sprang out of that. I'm no martial artist. Basically, you're going to need a scientist on the boat. All right, regardless of whether you choose me, get a scientist on the boat. There's too much pseudoscience being projected around here, around the world, around the country. You need a scientist, whether it's a physicist, a chemist, that's right, science fair projects, a geologist, and I apologize in advance for the crude nature of the next slide, even a mathematician. My time is up, but whatever you do with this new world, don't melt the biggest block of ice on the planet. That's Antarctica, by the way. It's melting.
Here. We didn't learn half this stuff. Well, that was great. Sadly, we've had an internet crash. The number of people in the audience trying to tweet kind of messed up the network. So the Q&A is going to not happen, I'm sad to say. But we have something even better than Q&A. We have our devil's advocate this year, Dr. Steve Parker.
Dr. Steve Parker. I'm sorry, he's dead. Quick, tell another story. Entertain us, come on.
This is it. This is it. Wow. Thank you. I assumed I was waiting until they tore each other up a little bit.
Oh, right. Damn. My bad, the rebuttal period. I got flustered by the internet crash. So we go through, you got 3 minutes each. I'm very sorry.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Okay, first up with a response to his withering criticism from his teammates is Kevin Hope.
We're going to try the microphone again just to see if it works.
The mute button on the bottom. The light's green. There you go.
Now this thing should be working. Ooh. Okay, so end of the world. You notice how everybody goes for that nuclear bomb thing? We've already said, nuclear bomb, quick, dead, no boat. And, well, we're not even going to begin to go into that, water rising thing because, well, quick, dead, no boat. Now, listening to my colleagues and their arguments, one of the things that came to mind about Brett first, he talked about finding places to make verdant fields, to raise steak and have veggies. But only cockroaches and rodents are going to survive. So how do you like your cockroaches, folks? Medium rare? Just a leg. I'm trying to lose some weight. I don't know. I think we can do better. Don't you? And, well, creative writing doesn't want to be on the boat. And I suspect that if creative writing ended up on the boat, there would indeed be openings. No. The story was just that dark. Now, as for philosophy, I've heard philosophers before talk about, wanting a spot on the boat. And they always go with that, but you need us philosophers for politics. Really? Have you watched the campaign so far this year? Is there any philosophy in there? Can you help me out here?
Not for me, Romney.
Because I just don't see it. If philosophy got us this governmental system, maybe we should do without the philosophers. And Claire said, I'll do anything you ask me to do. I'm going to need you to wire some electricity for around the place, okay? Build some circuits, batteries, and so that he can hook up the air conditioning.
I can adapt.
Cockroaches? I don't need to say anything about physics. Physics speaks for itself.
For too long now, right?
Oh, come on. You let them have 20, 30 seconds of red light.
Okay, keep going. 1 year off and I forget about the rebuttals. I mean, this is terrible. I'm very sorry. Now, Andrew Batista trying to defend his discipline against the charge of air conditioning, apparently. So, bang, that should be good.
Oh man, this thing work. Okay, I don't even know what to say. Thank you for that. I didn't really want to levy vicious attacks against my colleagues on the stage because they're not bad people. Some of them are very creative people, but they're not bad people. They're just here trying to defend a way of thinking and a way of training and a very rigid, unilateral approach to learning and knowledge that has reified their careers. And I don't blame them for that, but the truth of the matter is that this is not a reality in today's world of interconnected thinking. There was a recent study that just came out of Rutgers University, and it said that, let me see here, 25% of people who graduate from college will find their first job in something that has nothing to do with the major they studied. This is your reality. You're going to be entering in a world in which half of you will even get a full-time job at all, according to this study, 50% of people. Of those, a fourth will be doing something completely different than what they studied. Is this a problem with college? Yes, it is a problem with college, but it also means that you need to be very flexible. So, I really appreciated what a lot of my colleagues had to say tonight. I learned a lot even. But they all stand defending a method of thinking, these proverbial academic silos that just don't work today. So think about that, and I will relinquish this microphone. Thank you.
All right, Claire Edwards, Communications, Science, and Disorders. This or the podium? Okay.
Okay, thinking. You keep using that word. I don't know if you know what it means. Thinking requires language. Meaningful thought requires language, and that's what I bring to you. For physics, last year, you voted for this guy, right? How did that work out for you? You're on the same Raft this year. Right. What? Right. Everyone's talking about thinking. I think I've heard everyone talk about thinking, and without language, there is no thought or meaningful thought. So I am able to help you with thinking. I'm able to help you with communication and to rebuild society. I can help with many problems, from your baby who has feeding issues and can't communicate their wants and needs. I can help you with your teenagers who are pragmatically awkward, become just those great adults. I can help your grandfather who forgets who he is and forgets who you are. I can help him remember who he is. I can do all kinds of things for you. So I guess I'm just trying to further my cause here. For biology, for the reproduction aspect of that, we really don't need a biologist for that, do we? We don't really need a biologist for that. So anyway, please vote for me. Thank you.
I'm just afraid that if we find out what babies are thinking, they're all going to be like Stewie on the Family Guy. Anyway, now we have Anthony Kelly. 3 more minutes defending the master science of philosophy. Wireless or the podium? It's up to you.
All right. So here I stand completely unprepared for a rebuttal. Anyone who's taken one of my classes is very familiar with this feeling. So I guess I should respond to some of the things that people have said. Mr. Kevin Hope. Let's see. Well, if there's one thing he can't give you is hope.
I've never heard that one. Never, ever.
We have some Mitt Romney fans in the crowd, right? You don't want hope. Look how far that got you in the last 4 years, right? Do you? So look, about this point about philosophers always wanting to say that they have something to contribute with respect to politics and rebuilding government, etc. Well, we say that because it's true, first of all. And second of all, it's not the case that our present government and our present political leaders are actually philosophically minded folks. In fact, that's what explains the mess that we find ourselves in. So the claim is that if they were philosophically minded, if we were, all of us, of course some of us are, particularly all the audience members, enlightened folks, people who were equipped with the tools of critical analysis to see past the hype, see past the stellar performance debates into the substance of the issues, perhaps we'd have better leaders and a better government thereby. Now, I want to talk about biology because he did what I wanted to do but talked myself out of, is promising you beer and sex. But since we're going to talk about it, the door's been open. But anyone who knows me knows there's nothing more than I like than beer. But trust me, I'll find a way to get us beer, so don't worry. An adequate supply of beer will not be a problem if you select me. What else? Bryn's great. If you don't vote for me, vote for her. And I guess we're going to have concluding remarks, but really quickly, if I have time, I want to say that, look, I mean, a lot of people have talked about sort of our immediate needs, right? We have the physicist who's going to, I guess, build us things, and everybody else, we're going to learn language, even though we all know how to speak English and we can think, but anyway, look, the point is that we need something much more than just our immediate needs satisfied, right? Once we get our buildings back, once we get our clean water, once we eradicate the cockroaches and microorganisms, we're still going to need much more to sustain us, right? We're going to need to be critical thinkers, pursuing truth, pursuing knowledge, pursuing the good life, right? And that's, I think, a small part of what I can give you. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Now we have Brynn Chancellor, which I suppose she's only going to be reading us the death scene from the previous story.
It's only going to get darker. No, it's not. Yes. So the exact quote that Andrew Batista and Dr. Patton mentioned earlier about multitudes is from the great American poet Walt Whitman, from the poem Song of Myself, and it goes like this. Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large, I contain multitudes. Yes? So, that actually gets it to my point this evening a little bit as I was looking at all of our labels here, which suggests that we are disciplines, right? We are the representatives of what we do. But in fact, you're not getting a discipline on that raft. You're getting a person full of all kinds of multitudes and flaws and quirks and things that as writers we look for and try to find. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my own multitudes, just a couple of them, things that you might not see right here, or maybe you do, and how I see those fitting in with what we're going to need where we're going. One, I am a weirdo. It's true. You might have already guessed that. That's fine. But what I mean by that is that I'm an outsider. Writers tend to be the people who are on the outside of things looking in. It's what gives us perspective. It's what helps us actually tell. It's slightly counterintuitive that you see better when you stand back. So that's what I've been spending my life doing, and that's what I trained myself to do. So what I can do for you is help you see things that you might not. I'm thinking here of lemmings. Ever seen them go right off the cliff? There's no one standing on the outside telling them not to. Warning. Okay. Another thing is I am a liar. I am a liar. You might not know that. And I take pride in that. And that's just, I'm not talking about just any kind of lie. I'm talking about the kind of liar. It's my lie. I'm a liar by trade. I write fiction, which is the lie that tells the truth. So it's contradictory. And what that training has done for me, and that, finding that there's art in artifice, is that I have a really, really finely calibrated BS meter. Like, I cannot tolerate bad lies, and I can see them for miles. Here they come. And I'll tell you what, in this new civilization, we're going to have liars, and we're going to need to ferret them out. And you need a liar like me to do that. Lastly, you might a liar like me. I am made out of dust. And I'm referencing Flannery O'Connor here, who talks about writing is everything human. And it's about being humble, going to the page and going to writing. And I'm humbled also about writing itself and what it can do for us, what storytelling helps us do in the face of tragedy and trauma. And that is, it helps us tell our stories. And I suspect some of you are going to want to do that. I can help. And at the very least, even if it doesn't become art, I still can encourage you to write it down, because that is also worthwhile. That's it.
All right. And last but again not least, Brett.
This has been fun. Sex, beer, steaks, Marvin Gaye, Bob Marley, Bill Nye, and roundhouse kicks. I should have consulted with Anthony before coming out here on my faulty logic. That would have been a good thing, perhaps. But it was good to hear about what philosophy is, because I've got a doctorate in it, and I wasn't really sure. One thing I remember about physics from college is friction. And so if we have motorcycles in this new world, wear your leather, wear a helmet, friction's a bitch. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. And again, we probably need a philosopher, because the whole thinking in language and thought, and I think we can go round and round in that for a while. Sort of the chicken and the egg sort of a thing. And I learned about alt-act. That was pretty cool. I like that. It's kind of a jack of all trades. It's good. I think that would serve us well. So finally, I still think we could have used a bigger boat.
Okay, now I think it's time for the devil's advocate. So, Dr. Steve Parker.
This is like deja vu. I feel like I was just here. Good evening. This is the 15th annual Life Raft debate. I feel a bit of a regular. This is the 8th time I've been a participant one way or the other. I've been on the stage. I was fortunate enough to take home an oar once upon a time, and they forced me to give it back. Last year, I served as MC. Welcome back, Michael. And I've been devil advocate. I enjoy this event, the opportunity to speak about these sort of issues. I think it is something that speaks to the particular graces of the University of Montevallo. I'm here to acknowledge and honor and applaud and praise the participants. Yes, praise them. I come not to bury them, I come not to drown them, but to praise them. My only hesitancy, quite honestly, is having served both as a participant and as a devil's advocate, I have to say it's taken a toll on my own social image. And far too many people have concluded I'm just not a nice person. That I'm far too caustic and abrasive, mean, even a hater. And I want to assure you that really I'm a pretty good guy. That this is a job. Someone needs to raise these issues. Someone needs to raise these questions. So I hope that you can see it within the context of what happens tonight and not assume that I really have a grudge against any of my fine, fine colleagues. We've heard their best shots. I'd like to make a couple of specific comments, perhaps. My intent tonight was mostly to talk about links and ties and themes that hold them all together. And then I heard their best shots. And I feel like there are some things that should be said. Dr. Hope, you've been on the raft a year, and yet we're still on the raft. This is not good. Clearly your area is not applied physics. I'm just saying. And indeed your goal, your stated goal, was to earn a permanent place on the raft. I'd like to think most of you would like to get the hell off the raft. That is a ceiling that is far too low. Dr. Batista, you listed your failures. I don't know if you need a life raft or a 12-step program. I listen to a lot of types of music. I've had people ask me, do you like alternative music? And to me, alternative music is silence. And in much the same way, alternative academics seems to be ignorance. This is not something we should... the alternative to academics, I'll stand by that one. Even if it means I got to accept the hater claim, okay? That's just too clear. Dr. Edwards, it's clear who did the most work at announcing this event in class. I'm a little worried that it seems like one of your goals is for all of us to sound alike. That if somehow we speak differently, for whatever reason, don't worry, there's a cure, as if it's a disease to have an accent. I appreciate...
Yeah, there you go.
I wonder what your major is. I do appreciate your comments about the relationship of thought and language, but that raises a greater question that if you're going to control and limit our language, are you controlling and limiting our thought? That if we must speak in a certain way, are you saying we must think in a certain way? This is not a good thing. Damn. I can't say anything bad about Dr. Chancellor. That's like kicking a puppy. No, I mean that in a good thing, so I can't. I mean, my goodness, it's like, really. But she does seem to project this image of, take me along and I'll be that crazy old lady with the bottle tree in her yard. And I'm sure that there is a potential for many crazy old ladies and men with bottle trees in their yard without losing the last seat to that. And I would suggest that I do appreciate the notion of an outsider. I hope we can understand that an outsider is a privilege of a success of a society. That once we establish ourselves, we have room for an outsider, but only after the basic needs are taken care of. Dr. Kelly, you lack Google? Talk to Andrew. And of course, everything a philosopher says is true because they say it is. And the good university scholar, Brett. Ironically, I honor his accomplishments and also recognize there's a certain irony that the second most technically challenged person on the panel is from Harmon Hall. Growing stakes is a great line. There's no doubt about it, but it does go to a certain reductionism that I think should give us pause. It is interesting that every biologist that's ever been on stage promises us beer. I won't ask for a raise of hands of how many people have had fake IDs long before they're 21. Beer will be provided. And indeed, with due respect to Dr. Kelly, yes, Marvin Gaye did not have a biology degree. We don't need to go to biology to appreciate Brother Marvin. Now, some things that keep them all together. They all stood up here and told us about all the things they know, all the answers that they could provide us. And if we're lucky, perhaps they could teach us to think like them. And it reminds me of an old, somewhat cliche, if the only tool you have is a hammer, the entire world is a nail. That somehow their specific, micro-focused orientation is somehow going to solve our issues. Answers are overrated. We need questions. That's the crux of the biscuit. That's the source of discovery, of understanding, of celebration. It is the questions that allow us to embrace life itself as a human. And it's your questions and my questions, our questions, not the questions that they decide we should ask. But let me say this, they are not to blame. They are capable. They get it. Somehow in their academic career, certainly they show the type of imagination and openness to thinking abstractly, of asking questions never asked before, or they wouldn't have become college professors. No, we don't blame them, but perhaps we challenge the structure within which they make a living. That the system pushes us to specialize, to identify an expertise, to find something that we know and only we have the possession of that knowledge. That what makes us special is what keeps us apart. The system pushes us in that way. And it demands these people, these victims, to constantly demonstrate something that they know that's distinct from others. And indeed, they find themselves in a system that undervalues the asking of questions. It makes it difficult to accept the messiness and the chaos of learning. They're more consumed with proving what it is they know and how good it is. And they need to put it in a form that can be proved, be it numbers, quantifications, accountability, accessibility. And they learn to be safe. And they learn not to take chances. To be an academic today, unfortunately, is to be safe, to to be adverse to risk, be non-adventurous. And this is no way to establish a social order or a new society. We need to explore. We need to think outside the box. For once, I ask that you just say no. I ask that you say no to the illusion of truth with a capital T, as if someone up here possesses it. To just say no to the ludicrousy of objective facts that can somehow make our world a better place. To just say no to the temptation of certainty, and to just say no to the lunacy of final solutions. My advice and my suggestion to you is to leave an open seat as a reminder of the unknown, as a reminder of the mystery that lies before us that only we can discover as we allow ourselves to ask imaginative questions without answers. Do not vote for me, for I will be there. No seat is necessary. Every time someone gives you an answer and you have a question in response, that is the devil advocate. Every time you start a statement with, "Did you ever think about?" that's the devil's advocate. When you allow your own imagination and your own wonder of the world to lead you to consider new and novel things and not look for experts, the devil's advocate is there within you, and that is the basis of a new society and a new social order from which we will thrive, prosper, and succeed. Thank you.
Okay, now we've heard from everyone, and the time has come for voting. Please share the pencils we gave out. I hear we ran out of something like 4 gross of pencils. So you vote for the person you'd like by entering A by the appropriate number. If you like any of these panelists, vote 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, or 5A. And if Dr. Parker convinced you, vote 7A. And pass your ballots to the aisles. Philosophy Club members, come and collect ballots like there's no tomorrow. And there'll be a brief interlude while we tally the ballots with our Scantron expert, Dr. Kristen Gilbert. If there's any sort of music we can play, that would be cool. People up in the balcony. And we'll be back soon with the result. Thank you.
He talked about finding places to make verdant fields, to raise steak and have veggies. But only cockroaches and rodents are going to survive. So he talked about finding places to make verdant fields, to raise steak and have veggies. But only cockroaches and rodents are going to survive. There would indeed be openings. No, the story was just that dark. There would indeed be openings. No, the story was just that dark. There would.
Thank you for that. I didn't really want to levy vicious attacks against my colleagues on the stage because they're not bad people. Some of them are very creative people, but they're not bad people. They're just here trying to defend a way of thinking and a way of training and a very rigid, unilateral approach to learning and knowledge that has reified their careers.
Thinking requires language. Meaningful thought requires language, and that's what I bring to you. For physics, last year, you voted for the sky, right? How did that work out for you? You're on the same Raft this year.
Someone who's taken one of my classes is very familiar with this feeling. So I guess I should respond to some of the things that people have said. Mr. Kevin Hope. Let's see. Well, if there's one thing he can't give you, it's hope. Someone who's taken one of the doors have been open. But anyone who knows me knows there's nothing more than I like than beer. But Trust me, I'll find a way to get us beer, so don't worry.
Do I contradict myself? Very well, then I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. Yes? So, that actually gets to my point this evening a little bit as I was looking at all of our labels here, which suggests that we are disciplines, right? We are the representatives of what we do. But in fact, you're not getting a discipline on that raft. You're getting a person full of all kinds of multitudes and flaws and quirks and things that as writers we look for and try to find. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about my own multitude.
Beer, steaks, Marvin Gaye, Bob Marley, Bill Nye, and roundhouse kicks. I still think we could have used a bigger boat.
That I'm far too caustic and abrasive, mean, even a hater. And I want to assure you that really I'm a pretty good guy, that this is a job. Someone needs to raise these issues. Someone needs to raise these questions. So I hope that you can see it within the context of what happens tonight. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And indeed, your goal, your stated goal, was to earn a permanent place on the raft. I'd like to think most of you would like to get the hell off the raft. No doubt about it, but it does go to a certain reductionism that I think should give us pause. It is interesting that every biologist that's ever been on stage promises us beer. I won't ask for a raise of hands of how many people have had fake IDs long before they're 21. Beer will be provided. No doubt about it, but it does go to a certain reductionism that I think should give us pause. It is interesting that every biologist that's ever been on stage promises us beer.
Deep education requires a habitual vision of greatness, says Cornell West, and you know what that vision looks like. Deep education.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Dice, and I chose art at the University of Montevallo because the staff is so friendly. Everyone is so willing to help you and go out of their way to help you grow as an artist. And even teachers that I've never even had before have been willing to help me improve my art. And the facilities are great. You have so many opportunities here that I think you wouldn't have at other colleges. And that's why I chose the College of Fine Arts at the University of Montevallo.
How did we become painted with just one brush? Time's forever moving forward. We can't rush. Now tell me why somebody even want to choose a college. I know you don't want to leave with just book knowledge. We don't sell an institution but an attitude. Other schools don't understand. They own a different latitude. You don't want to get caught up in that sea of sameness when we perfectly unique. Yeah, we looking blameless.
Unconventional wisdom. It comes with the territory if you're in the right place. An environment where insight is revealed through self-discovery. Where the first step to success is thinking for yourself. And it starts here.
we can't rush. Now tell me why somebody even want to choose a college. I know you don't want to leave with just book knowledge. We don't sell an institution but an attitude. Other schools don't understand, they on a different latitude. You don't want to get caught up in that sea of sameness when we perfectly unique. Yeah, we looking blameless. So get up out your seats, get louder, louder. We chose Montevallo when we couldn't be prouder.
Unconventional wisdom. It comes with the territory. If you're in the right place. An environment where answers ask questions. And insight is revealed through self-discovery. It originates from a place populated with thinkers, doers, and creators. It's acquired through a holistic approach to learning, where the first step to success is thinking for yourself. It's something altogether uncommon, and something you'll find. Inside all of us is a moment. An exact place and time where we discover who we are and what we are meant to be. It is revealed through asking, seeking, and understanding what is possible together. This is more than just an education. It's the unearthing of a true individual. And it starts here. Inside all of us is a moment, an exact place and time where we discover who we are and what we are meant to be. It is revealed through asking, seeking, and understanding what is possible together. This is more than just an education. It's the unearthing of a true individual. And it starts here.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Dice.
Drew Spradlin.
Lindsay Bristol. Sydney Stover.
I chose the University of Montevallo because
the faculty works very closely with you.
And I really wanted a liberal arts education for a small price.
I've learned so much about my craft, and I really feel prepared when I graduate.
The facilities are great. You have so many opportunities.
And that's why
I chose the College of Fine Arts here at the University of Montevallo.
College of Fine Arts at the University of Montevallo, an altogether uncommon experience.
My name is Sydney Stover, and I'm a mass communications major here at the University of Montevallo. My concentration is journalism, and the reason why I chose mass communications is because I love the media, I love the news, most of all I love to write. That's a passion of mine. And here at the University of Montevallo, the faculty works very closely with you, and they're always there when you need them. If you need any kind of help getting maybe a job, an internship, you got it here at the University of Montevallo. And basically, that's why I chose the College of Fine Arts here at the University of Montevallo.
We have a result. With almost exactly 600 votes cast, the oar goes to the person who called it a paddle today at Founders Day, Brett Norieger. Thanks so much for coming. We'll probably drift over to the after party at the Eclipse, so come to that if you'd like, and come back next year. This is always a good event because of you guys and because of these guys. And don't forget to buy a t-shirt.
Anywhere close to definitive?
It was a pretty big runaway, actually.
Yeah, when you split the vote, the science, you split the science.
I know. Stop harming them.